Hello, everyone. This is Tommy Zarka, one of the sports information directors here at Clarkson University, and I'm joined by the Golden Knights head softball coach, Kristen McGaughey. This interview will serve as a quick catch-up for parents, alumni, and any prospective student athletes as a kind of state of the program. So, Coach, obviously this was a challenging year for many student athletes. Can you talk about a little bit about the navigating that you had to do that was a little bit more irregular um, in trying to create a schedule that fit um, smaller practice sizes and smaller groups and obviously starting a little bit later than what you usually would?
Yeah, it was definitely more of a challenge than what we typically deal with, mostly because classes went a lot later into the day. And so when we first started, we were in groups of 10. So we did all of it with small group. But once we were able to go to bigger groups during the week, there was no time that we could get more than half of our kids together at any given time anyway, because the class schedules just didn't line up. So we were able to keep those small groups during the weekdays that we were practicing and then do the full team on the weekend. So, silver lining to that whole thing, I think it ended up being a good thing in terms of player development and not really knowing how our season's going to look ahead of us. That's kind of our big focus. It's all about kind of more of the personal player development and how that will help the team moving forward. So I think we were able to lay some great groundwork and framework for that moving forward. When we get into next semester of really seeing what each player is doing really well and where there are some holes that we want to help build them up and develop them a little bit further and have even more of a specific off-season training plan for them as individual players too. So I think that'll actually end up being really helpful for us as a program as we move forward and hopefully get out of all the COVID craziness at some point in the future, hopefully sooner rather than later.
I think from previous discussions, you mentioned that none of your seniors from last year came back for the addition that they were granted to play in 2021. Um, can you talk about the freshmen that you brought in to replace them and how those players have looked in fall ball? And obviously, in a lot of cases, there will be some seniors from other programs that came back. But your freshmen will, in fact, have an opportunity to step right in. So can you just talk a little bit about them?
Yeah, so we graduated 4 everyday starters out of a class of 5. So we have a lot of openings. And so you're exactly right. Our freshmen are going to have the opportunity to compete, to play right away. And it is a competition. We have some returners that'll be competing with them as well. But we're pretty excited that the best thing about our freshman class as a group of 5 is they are super athletic. I think this is the fittest group that we brought in. And I think this is the fittest team overall that we've had in our 8 years. So I'm really excited about that. All 5 of our freshmen are extremely versatile. Tatum can do everything, literally, including pitch. She'll probably play a little bit more infield than outfield and pitch for us. Katie can catch and play some outfield. Molly can play both middle infield positions. Aaron can play middle infield and outfield for us. And then Becky is more of a traditional first baseman, but she's really outstanding defensively. And that's one of the positions we lost to. So she's going to have a lot of opportunity to compete there too. So really excited about this group. They're just great people too. I mean, the feedback I've received from all of the upperclassmen is how much they like them, how well they fit in, what good kids they are. So really, really excited that we were able to get the 5 of them here and to see where we can take them in their time with our program.
Your team was one of the last teams in Florida last year. Obviously, you had to really, really struggle to try and find games with other teams that were either at the end of their trip or hadn't been pulled back yet. How did that affect your team's upperclassmen as they understood that they weren't necessarily going to get a traditional senior day or obviously a shot at the playoffs, which I'm sure was something that they were hoping to get back to? Did you have any specific discussions with them while you were in Florida, or was that something that they kind of knew about themselves, that that maybe in a team huddle prior to a game is like, this is the end. We really need to play our hardest or anything like that?
It was interesting because we kind of, our season and how things ended up happening was all unfolding as COVID was kind of unfolding across the whole US. And so it was about the week before we were going to fly out, all of a sudden we were hearing schools were not coming down to Florida. We're like, what is going on? And that was really the point that it was starting to be known how big of a deal it was. And it was just being reported to having moved to being in the US and having cases here. And so we're like, well, that's kind of stupid because we didn't really understand at that point. And, so it started evolving even, almost 2 weeks out from Florida. And then every day we were hearing more schools were canceling. So at that point, we still expected to go down and play our, a full 12 games and play a full schedule when we got back. I don't think anybody really understood the enormity of the situation at that point. So then we get down into Florida and, our administration, Laurel Kane and I were in constant contact with each other, and she was keeping us updated. And I can't remember if it was the first or second day, might have been the first day of games down there. We kind of had the sense that we didn't know what was going to happen if we were going to be able to stay the whole time. So the team, we had team meetings every day and just kind of tried to talk about what might happen. When we found out for sure that Florida was going to be it. So at that point, we still thought we had the whole 12 games of Florida. We had a very emotional talk as a team. I shed some tears. I think everybody was crying. Obviously, the seniors were the most upset. And at that point, we're like, this is probably it. This is all we're guaranteed are these 12 games. And so there was a lot of discussion about how to deal with that. Obviously, there's a lot of emotion, especially from the seniors, but even our underclassmen, our team loves each other. They were horribly upset that our seniors were missing out on the opportunity to complete their senior year. And so the focus became at that point, we want to win every game. We want to go all out. We want to give our seniors the best experience that we possibly can in their last year. And so then it became a day-by-day thing on if we were going to be able to play the next day, if there was going to be enough teams, or if we were going to be allowed to stay, and if the tournament was going to keep happening. And so we made it through the first half of our trip. We got 6 games in. I think we went 5-1. And we got the call on our day off, and morning of our day off, so that was the point that the NCAA kind of stopped everything in the spring. So again, very emotional conversation with the team. And we get a tremendous parent following in Florida. So we were able to organize a team social / like senior celebration dinner event. We did it poolside at the condos where we stayed down in Florida. And, I think we did the best we could in the situation. But it was definitely difficult for sure. And my heart breaks for our seniors still, and our senior Riley this year, not knowing if she's going to get a regular season. I was fortunate. I had all 4 of my playing years, and I would take 100 more of them if I could have them. So to see anybody get cheated out of that opportunity, it hits you right in the feels for sure.
What I'd like to talk to you about, Coach, is the annual Let's See You Give Day, Clarkson Athletics annual Giving Day. Obviously, this is now the 5th one. You've been here for all of them. And as a fairly new program, you don't necessarily have the alumni support or presence the way that all of our other programs do. And you obviously rely a little bit more on the grassroots fundraising on the Giving Day that you might get at the Student Center, but we didn't get that this year. So instead of that, what did your team do to try and connect with the team supporters this year, and how pleased were you with the outcome of the day overall?
I have to say I was pleasantly surprised. I had no idea what to expect. Obviously, we're in a hard economic time across this country too, and I was really blown away and touched by the support that we were able to garner even in such a hard year. We have great kids. They have great family and friends that still continue to support them wherever they are, even when they're not at home and they're here with us. It's been cool to see. We have alumni that give annually that aren't softball alumni that have kind of become fans of the program, which that has been really cool for me to see and develop some of those relationships. And then this year, we definitely had a lot more of our own alumni giving back, because every year that group gets bigger. We were going to have our first alumni game this year that just didn't end up happening thanks to COVID. But that's been really cool to see. They've kind of been the trailblazers all the way along, and now to see them as alumni and the giving back piece and kind of setting the tradition for that for our future young alumni is really cool to see. So it was nice to see a lot of familiar names and people who've come through the program giving back as well this year.
Okay, that's all I've got for you, Coach. Thank you for joining me today, and it was a pleasure speaking with you as always. And best
Of
of
course, Tommy.
making sure that we get back on the field for the spring of 2021.
Fingers crossed.
Okay. Thanks, Kristen.
Thanks, Tommy.